So call to order the Blue River Planning and Zoning meeting for January 6th.
Roll call, Beck. Carlstead. Here. Cleary. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Manning. Here. O'Brien.
Here.
And Watts.
Moving on, the approval of the minutes from our December 2nd meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First project is 0120 Indiana Creek Road. Demolition.
So-
Construction.
Mr. Chair, I would like to stop and say that we do have a reoccurring issue tonight, which is the roofs, which has been brought up for discussion before. We do have 2.5 projects that have that issue. Like to stop and discuss that and as a generalized status first, or would you like to move into the project?
What would everybody else like?
I think we can discuss it as we get through each individual project unless somebody wants to delve into the.
Do we want to set a precedence now so we move through these quicker, or?
We can do that as well.
I kind of, I'm a consensus person and would love to get some consensus as our interpretation of the regulation, my bias. And so, you know, obviously I've been kind of warring with this, the wording and, 16B 570 little b says roof form requirements. Number 1 says prohibited. We all know what prohibited means. We're all on the same page of what prohibited. Okay. It says the use of a flat, shed, butterfly, or mansard roof forms as the predominant or primary roof for a building or structure is prohibited. So to me, the kind of devil is in detail here is what is predominant or primary. To me, predominant means greater than 50%. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Okay. And it says prohibited. So to me, it's pretty clear that if greater than the roof is a flat, blah, 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 here at flat roof or a shed roof in these situations, I believe, it is prohibited. Is that pretty clear?
I believe so.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any input on?
You know, I mean, I was reading through this before I came over here. And I would totally agree. That's how it's noted. You know, then it gets into roof pitch, you know, that talks about elements of architectural interest, et cetera, et cetera. I guess the one main thing I would have a question on, which, you know, you may or may not be able to be answered here, especially without Bob on who probably wrote all this, like, you know, why? What is the purpose of this prohibited requirement? You know, is it an aesthetic prohibition? Are we, you know, if we're worried about functionality and some snow loads, et cetera, that's, you know, that's kind of talked about later in that paragraph. So I would assume it's kind of a architectural aesthetic
That's how I
issue.
I would interpret this, but that's not our role, is my understanding. Is you know why it's to interpret what's written, and why will help that.
True, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, one, why was it written? Why is it in the code? Because we're running into this every single month.
Cause it used to be they all wanted cables.
Yep.
That was the style.
Exactly.
That's
Styles have changed.
Yep.
You know, we were getting it month after month, project after project. Architects love using lower slope roofs for one, and a combination of, you know, like a lot of these, it's like maybe this is I look at it more like we don't want a single shed roof. It's just one big shed roof. I think that's what they're really trying to get away from. Also, you know, like what size building, when you have like multiple pitch, multiple direction, a variety of, they're all combinations of shed roofs. You know, a lot of times they present and get the same aesthetic as a gable roof. Is that aesthetically displeasing? Are we really trying to like prohibit that?
Well, and again, I guess where my head is, I have no personal opposition to a shed roof. I actually wanted to put one on my house. Our HOA didn't allow it. It didn't come to this point. But again, my understanding is that that's not my role here. It's to try to interpret what's written, and to me, it just seems pretty clear. Intent, and again, I deal with regulations a lot in my professional life, and again, you write something, sometimes you don't realize how it's interpreted. I don't know what their intent was at the time, but to me, again, there's some pretty concrete terms like prohibited and predominant, I think are pretty clear.
Well, so then, I do agree. So then, if we were saying, you know, predominant more than 50%, is that the total number of various sections of shed roof that are broken up? Or are we gonna look at that as any one section of shed roof or flat roof, or butterfly, which you never see, mansard, rarely see, if at all. It's really, we're dealing with shed and flat roof are kind of the things that we're seeing, which is architecturally hot right now. It's all over the county. You know, so I guess I totally get like where it's not our place, but like if this is a issue that we're running into month after month, it's like we need to go to the trustees and be like, hey guys, this is a continuing problem. What, you know, and get some more direction from them versus just like, I mean, thank you for including the wording and highlighting it. Like, I think we're still like, you know, is the intent that we're supposed to like shoot down all these applications?
I'm guessing, go ahead.
To me, I believe the purpose of the board, you are all members of this community, is to make sure the houses before you meets what the community wants. Right? So I think that's the overall intent of the code, and I believe you should be thinking of that in your heads. You are the community members.
But again, it's what's written. You know.
So we need to change what's written, is what it boils down to. If we're all in the consensus that we're okay with the newer style, which I am, because I've never had an issue with it, because they've been building these in California on the beach for 50 years.
Yeah, I mean,
It's mountain modern, but it's
my house
beach
is a low
forever.
roof,
Right?
it's a 412 and it's just 12.
Yeah.
Built in 78.
No. I think there should be varied pitches to make something, so it's not one big shed, one big box. But I don't personally have any problem with different pitches, lower pitches. As a builder, I love a lower pitch. You know, if I was framing back then, there's still a lot to do to build these things, but it sure is a lot easier than framing big old gables and valleys everywhere and dormers. And so, but at this point right now, in my opinion, we aren't, because of what's happened in the past, all these precedents, all of a sudden they're come back to bite us. So till this has changed, I think anything that comes before us, it's not us to say.
So,
Right, Steve?
I don't know. I look at Gordon and I think that he's wanting to say yes because he could say yes, and so what right do you have to say no when really your criteria hasn't changed? I included this because I wanted you all to have a discussion, but I sort of felt when I read this, I didn't tear it apart line by line like maybe Gordon has. I felt that it sort of gave you some discretionary authority to make architectural decisions, because it's all as it is an architectural decision. There's nothing with engineering. You can engineer a flat.
Right. No, exactly.
And so I felt that there was some discretion, but I will agree with Gordon that I read it and I go back and forth.
Right.
But
But are we gonna get in trouble if we?
I don't know that you're gonna get in trouble.
Right.
Here,
What's the worst that could happen? They ban me from this town?
So in my opinion, right, I don't think we have any authority to approve it. There's discretionary like authority here, but it's on other roof forms, not slopes. So, but what was the purpose? I don't know. I'm thinking it was structural based on snow load. Regardless, what I would propose, just thinking outside the box, we can look at these projects on all merits aside from the roof slope. And we can then say approved contingent upon the board's approval of roof pitches 312 and greater. Because it specifically calls out 412 to 1212. So all they gotta do is change 312 and change the word primary.
Right.
You know, we could say greater than 50% or at 312 and greater.
or just change the word prohibited to
Discretionary.
subject to discretionary review. So, one of my thoughts is, our building code is long and lots of details and whatever. None of the trustees sat down and.
They don't want to.
Most of this was probably copy and paste from what Bob had done at other municipalities, what other municipalities use. And like, hey, this will make sense because this is what's used in a similar
Right.
municipality. Put it in front of the trustees.
Well,
They
we
don't
used to have
read-
an
they don't read
architect on our board.
They don't read
He
it
came up with some,
either. They don't read it.
Two of them. Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, cool, let's approve these new.
Barber and
Damn architects.
damn architect. You're supposed to be sitting on the other side of that door.
Can we review and approve based on the board's, authorization of changes to the roof form requirements? If based on all merits.
So what if they don't make any change? Or
Well, then that means that the
We've
project.
already approved things with low slope
Those forms.
that have some shed roof, areas. It's not all, I think that, I really do think that, you don't want a house with a single shed roof, 100% one pitch. That's what they're trying to avoid. And I think maybe the wording is a little too restrictive with what the modern aesthetic and what architects are drawing.
But I would argue that if it was just a single low slope, I think we got one on Highway 9, not far south from you, across the highway. Isn't that
What, the
just a
one
low
that
slope?
went in on only one pitch? And
The
the
new aircraft carriers.
yeah, and it wasn't really, those ones still. But
Yeah,
that was
that's-
kind of
Well, yes, I don't think the town wants to see that.
Well, and
But this is not, I don't think it's the same.
no,
So to me, all you change is 412 and 1212 pitches between, and you make it 312 and 1212.
but it's still.
But it's still not the predominant.
But it's still prohibiting predominant shed roof forms and pitches less than 212 are limited to secondary elements, which there was one recently that I think did approve and it was
thank you.
almost all 212.
Yeah.
I mean, talking from an energy standpoint, like you said, it's easier to build a 212. It's engineered for the snow load.
Yeah.
You have proper roofing material on it. It's actually more energy efficient.
They get a higher house because they meet their height restriction.
They're all over the rest of the county.
They're all over.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got
so
no,
that's where like this,
I think the board needs to revisit it.
I agree. And I think the main thing is like combine paragraph 1 of prohibited roof forms
With subject to
with, and not add that into the subject discretionary review, because is there anything that we really want to put in there that's like absolutely prohibited? There's no way of a variance or like discretionary review at all. Like, is there any roof form that like really needs to fall into that category? It seems a little excessive.
Not anymore, I don't think.
I think the super flat roofs that you see in Denver, the square boxes that they're tearing down houses, are hideous. I hate
Yeah.
to see that be Blue River.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's under discretionary review.
Right,
You know?
but if you limit it, and then
Or-
you just, I think you could tweak this
Or
without just breaking it wide open.
yeah, or prohibit the use of a single pitch roof where it's like all flat or all one pitch shed roof, or I mean, the idea is like you don't even want to just a straight up 50-50 612 gable that's completely symmetrical. Like, the idea is to like get some variance in architectural character.
So going back to Dan's comment, if you were to review these permits based on your holding true that you wouldn't have the discretion based on this ordinance to allow most of these applications to go forward, would you then make a motion of consideration for approval only after those particular roofs that are in violation and bring it back into accordance with the code until the board makes their changes? Or
There's only one that I see that would fall victim to that.
Do you wanna go and dive into the project?
Well, can I just, because I actually like Dan's suggestion in the sense that there's been other projects that have been approved that are ambiguous with regard to this rule. And those projects, my understanding, they still go to the trustees and they're the ones that ultimately approve them. So they approved what we've approved in the past.
only
But
they don't
the
go
They don't go there.
They don't,
They don't go to the.
This one-stop shop is right here. That's it.
I thought that they, okay.
They used to have to approve anything that went in front of us, they had to,
Yeah, some smaller communities used to do that.
that's how it used to be, right?
It's been years.
Since they've done that, so I just took it for granted it was still happening.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Unless
Unless
it's usually getting the weeds on the building permit stuff.
So I really respect the trustees and these guys are busy, they're devoting their time, there's a lot of competing town issues. We can force this in front of them if I don't know, if it's appropriate, if we can say they're approved conditional upon the trustees either looking, saying okay or changing the wording. And it kind of keeps the process moving for the applicant.
It does two ways. Number one, you do contingent upon either adhering to the code or waiting to see what the board does. If even the board doesn't have to necessarily approve an ordinance change, if we have something that we call an impending doctrine, that we know that they're going to approve it, we move it forward a little quicker. Obviously for them to consider it, then the attorney to draft the ordinance, for them to do it and publish it, hold the public hearing, that's a few months down the road, just at best. But that would speed it up by an additional month, probably. Number one, I want you all to be able to consider what's before you tonight, so you need to settle on your comfort level. I like Dan's approach. The second thing is that we probably, you as a group, I'm not telling you what to do much more in a couple more weeks from now. We need you as a group to somehow coalesce what your thoughts are behind here and get ready to approach the board and say, hey, we're having this issue, whether we're not interpreting it correctly, or do we need to make a change that's more consistent with the surrounding area? Boom, and throw it up in laps. That is one of your responsibilities, is to propose these changes if needed, or to at least bring it to their attention. So keep that in the back of your mind.
I like the angle that Dan's taken.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I think it's your safest one.
And make a motion, Dan.
Well, let's review
No,
the project
you
on all
start.
merits.
Yeah.
Let's review the project, make sure that it meets other requirements.
Everything else is fine.
So,
This thing got emailed out separately. I don't know if everybody saw that. Was it this?
Yeah, I sent it to everybody, and if you need a hard copy, I'm sorry, I missed out on 120, I missed out on having some of the, on the submittal, and I can print it out really quick if you wanna move on to Red Tail Mountain Trail. I'll print out a copy for each of you if you don't have.
I don't need it.
Yeah, I get it.
You got it all right?
Okay. Everyone has the elevations?
So we're working on 120.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so 120, this is an existing single-family home they intend to completely demolish, completely reconstruct a new building on that site. This sits between Indiana Creek and Wagon Road. The back of the property is another road. They do show a little creek, is what it's kind of referencing on, that's more of a ditch next to Wagon Road. I did not find any records of any sort of easement or any sort of anything there. Just that the drawings do indicate an edge of bank for there. I'm assuming there's some sort of, I doubt it's continuously flowing river, it's probably more of a flood water drainage area. The new home is up touching the front setback. The front setback is the 25 feet from the property line, as there is no access easement on this property, but the overhangs do come all the way to the setback. Let's see, scrolling down to my list, we have the roof problem. So if we go to the elevations, we do have 2 or 3 12 pitch, which if you look into the regulations here, it says 212 is prohibited, 412 is permitted. It doesn't say anything about 312.
Well, it doesn't even say 212 is prohibited, it says 212 and under should be only used in.
Okay, so this one's 312, so it's in a weird gray area here. We have a gable, we have a shed, we have a butterfly, a very compound roof system. Let's see, what else we got? The height, in one spot, I did mark it as 37.
On that south side.
Yeah, over on that.
Southwest side.
The overhang, one elevation, it shows it's 34 foot, one elevation shows it's 37 foot. So I do believe that is some sort of an architectural issue. And if you did approve this tonight, I would probably recommend adding some sort of note that they must remain, at under 35 feet, just to make it clear.
34, right?
35 foot 0 is the maximum from existing grade or proposed grade.
I can't really measure on this. I don't know if that this would do it.
Ridge height 99, 20.3 minus.
You gotta go off on that
You
southwest
kind
side.
of have to scale it, how our definition works. Because it's at any given point. not
So
any
even,
ridge.
even like the supporting columns on the,
Yeah, so over on the deck is where. the-
yeah, but you'd go down to the, actually go down to the
All the way to
supporting
grade.
columns.
No, just to soil, either.
Yeah,
existing
but
grade
you're,
or-
but like where those
Yes,
columns are.
yeah, where your
not-
finger is,
Not,
depending on where the roof line is, I go with the tip of the roof
Yeah.
straight down.
but you go all the way down, like counting that support column.
Yes.
As part of the
Yeah,
elevation.
so
So
we
then,
may have a foot or two
Yeah.
of elevation issue here.
which could potentially be solved with grading and landscaping.
One thing that occurred to me, the height is hard for me to scale. I didn't get these drawings till pretty late, but we can scale it. I just grabbed it. It's hard to say what they do with grading because it falls away there. It's steep. That's a steep spot. But our code, if you got a deck over 15 feet, which that looks like it would be on that southwest end, there's got to be something. What is it? 16B7-100C3. And I'll pull it up.
What was that?
7-100C3. If you got, is it C3? Yeah. So when elevated greater than 15 feet from the finished grade and visible from rights of way or adjacent property, design elements shall be incorporated where feasible to mitigate the view of the other side of the deck. We don't have any view of that. It's probably gonna be something finished, but it's something worth noting. Because that Wagon Road, they're gonna be looking right up at it.
That's true. I mean, they're, noting the finished grade higher than existing grades, they're planning to, like, around those columns, building that up anyways.
I would guess, but it definitely, I didn't go to this site obviously, but I know that falls.
Yes, it might take a foundation, a retaining wall or something to bring the grade up high enough to like,
Right.
to allow for the overall height of the building, but I think it could be achieved without redesign. Certainly from the front side, it's well within.
What comes to my mind is if you ever look up, what's it, like Braddock Hill from Highway 9, there's a big
Yeah.
house there with a funky deck and you're just looking at the bottom of it.
I know that.
You know what I mean? Like anybody who's driven by that probably notices. I think that's the intent of this is, I don't think Wagon Road wants to be staring up at the bottom side of framing. Are they planning to reuse the septic? It looked like it based on what it goes from 3-bedroom to 3-bedroom.
I didn't dig into the septic.
Well, I just looked at the site plan and they're still showing everything in the same location.
Yeah, they probably have to upgrade it, they may not have even gotten that far yet.
I don't even know if septic is, or sewer is up there yet. Does anyone know if it goes up? I doubt it.
I don't think so.
Okay, and then the last item I have on here is they do have some metal panels on the garage there. In the siding section, it does say metal panels is not allowed or conditional. I don't remember exactly the language there. But it's going to bring to your attention that there are metal panels indicated on the side of that garage.
I think we kind of leaned away from not doing those a while ago. That they were acceptable and
It's conditional.
like as an accent, but
As an accent.
not the whole, a whole wall, but like as a lower level.
Yeah, wainscoting, like lower, like ground levels.
Yeah.
And then it's on that south elevation where it is a little taller, where it falls away.
Brings it up.
On the front side, it's minimal next to the garage door on the west elevation.
Good for fire.
Some other different metal panels on the north elevation of the garage.
They simply didn't provide any information on the lighting, the exterior lighting. At this point, we usually like to see some spec sheets that the lights will be night sky compliant.
So how do you approach that going forward? You just.
We catch that in inspection and everything anyway. It's part of the code.
If you wait till inspection, the lights are up. That makes it a little difficult.
We constantly make them pull them back in.
Well, you should,
Change it
I
back.
think if we approve this, it needs to be contingent upon the installation of night sky friendly lighting. However,
Or contingent upon, when they turn in the engineering end of it, they have examples of the lights.
I think they need to have, because making someone take it down, I can tell. I know
I
you
did
know.
take it down.
It's-
I failed mine.
Well, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Some lights cost a lot of money. I ever.
As long as they're dark sky compliant though,
I understand, yeah,
there it is.
but he's saying he doesn't have that.
Yeah,
So you're
but
gonna
they
make,
have to definitely
you're gonna
know that
wait
they are.
for inspection, I think that's a mistake. I think you need to note it, like approval contingent upon.
Yeah,
Yeah, when this happens in the past, I put a red stamp on the approved drawing saying it's required, but it's always missed.
Yeah, well, it's on them. If you can't read writing.
right. And everybody's starting to know. We didn't adopt it, but we do require it for remodeling and new construction. You're gonna swap out lights or go with dark sky.
Yeah, I think it's called natural night sky or something. I forget how the code, what is it? It's not dark sky.
That's what I Google. That's what I buy on Amazon.
I've spent a lot of people's money buying dark sky compliant lights.
Alright, so we got 312 butterfly shed, gable roof, not sure what to call it. The height could potentially be too much, and I think we're okay with the metal.
Yep.
So this
Yeah, I mean, as far as the roof goes, I look primarily the gable, 312 pitch.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's just kind of a weird misprint in or mispitch that wasn't noted in the rules. Like I don't see it like being primarily a shed roof or anything like that.
I think there's enough changes in there,
Yeah,
no matter what, maybe it's not big steep gables anymore, but that's not, and there's enough cut up that it's
yeah, I
not
mean,
one big
the
pitch.
primary roof form is certainly the gable roof.
Yeah. I would make a motion to approve 0120 Indiana Creek Road with the condition that the board approves a change to the minimum pitch to 312. If they need a recommendation, and we can talk about that later, but if they need a recommendation for us on how that works. And also,
It's your finished grading.
finished rating meets 35-foot max,
No,
and that the underside of the deck is.
right,
60
something,
feet. I don't know if we.
lattice that freezes and rips off, that
Love that stuff. Let's heat that space.
What about the
Keep that.
starting plan?
Yes, that should definitely be on
So you would not,
Kyle's red pen.
You said, I got the finished grading, you said something after that, though, Dan, on your motion. You said the minimum
I was
finish?
talking about finishing the
Underside
underside
of
of
the
the
deck.
deck if it's over 15 feet.
Oh,
Per 16B, 7100C3.
so are you proposing to leave in this prohibited shed roof being the predominant?
That's to be determined.
It's not predominantly a shed roof, it's just that there are shed roof features and all the pitches are 312, which 312 is, nowhere in the code is it allowed. With the.
Yeah, we can talk about it as we move forward, because we're gonna see this again here in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, I don't know if they may want us to make a recommendation, so they need to come away from here.
But so I'm clear, not on the motion, if they came back and made the drawings compliant with the code, then they could move forward, otherwise they can't move forward until the board will make an adjustment to the code, that's your intention.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Even though this one's 312.
Correct.
Correct.
We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, 78 Red Mountain Trail Edition. Yay.
So this one is a rather small house there. I believe it's only like 800 square feet, little cabin. They're doing a addition that's actually larger than the house that's there. So we land back at the exact same roof issue. The addition, I would call it a shed roof on the addition. However, the exists as a gable roof. So that comes back to your discussion of what is the primary roof. It's a 312. Moving down, we've already discussed this on the last project. They have metal corrugated steel wainscot. It's conditional to have steel on the exterior of the building, but I believe we do have a precedence of allowing wainscot type metal for snow protection. And everything else was provided and meets the requirements that I reviewed. And I believe the applicant is here. We would like to request a presentation.
Question, Kyle, on A2, it shows a privacy fence. Do we allow privacy fences?
Nope.
No, fences are not permitted at all.
Well, they are to some extent, but I've never seen a privacy. fence.
For a dog.
Yeah.
Correct, no, I know, I just wanted.
Okay, I thought-
I would love a privacy fence along Highway 9.
You need a berm, man. It's trees.
So I did miss that. I did not see what I was doing.
Just say your client a bundle.
Lights my neighbor go right in the front door.
So what's the infatuation with 312 pitches, Mr. Applicant? Let's hear it from a professional.
I'm Bobby Craig, for the record, with Rambo Architects. Our clients are Christopher and Shalene. I don't know if they're on right now.
What's the infatuation with 312 pitches?
You've been to the beach in California?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I just put out a newsletter where I said mountain modern is not mountain architecture. And a lot of the things that you're fighting with here, I agree with. You know, who the heck wants to build a butterfly roof up here and dump all your snow and ice to the center of the building, where you then have to either wait for it to melt or put heat tape and do all that. So we like to do varied forms. We like gables. We like sheds. We like to mix it up. 312, I'll tell you from a technical standpoint why 312 is better. It's the minimum pitch that the Bitchethane, the ice and water shield companies, will warranty their product. If you go under 312, you have to double up your Bitchethane. But we don't do under 312. We then go to a single ply membrane, a flat roof. So I don't do roofs between a 012 and a 312. And that's just a practical standpoint. For this particular project, though, we had an old cabin with a gable. It's only 550 square feet. The couple love it, but their two kids are now older. It's tiny, and they want a bigger house. But they don't. They want to keep the cabin. They want that to be the primary, the predominant thing that you see when you pull up. And if you look at our 3D renderings, that's what we were trying to do: is keep the gable as the thing. Here's the irony of our roofs. Our shed roof area is 560 square feet total. Our gable roof total is 555. So we're technically under your 51% or whatever. But I would argue that our predominant roof is the gable, even though it is the shorter roof and all that. A second thing we were doing with these shed roofs is trying to dump the snow away from the historic cabin because we can't put any more snow load on there. So one of our big things is to pitch these away from the cabin to protect it so it doesn't get hammered. Second thing we did is put a link between the cabin and what I'll call the shed addition. And the idea was, again, to differentiate between the old building and the new building. Same materials, same colors and all that. But when you look at it, you're going to say, no, that's the addition. There's a cute old cabin. That's what we want to do here. I understand your concern with trying to interpret this. If I read this, I come up with a different interpretation between prohibited and allowed every time. And I think part of the confusion is under prohibited, they use the phrase predominant and primary roof is prohibited. Use of 212 or lesser slope is limited to roof sections that serve as secondary elements. So this whole paragraph is talking about primary and secondary. The next paragraph, acceptable, there's no mention of that. It just flat out says gable, hip and valley, and shed roof forms with roof pitches between 412 and 1212 are acceptable. That seems pretty straightforward to me. I can do a shed 12 or a shed roof at a 412 or greater, and I don't think it has to be the primary or not. So I think the verbiage here has to be addressed eventually. But tonight, you guys have to interpret the code. And believe me, I don't envy you. I'm on architectural review boards, planning commissions. I actually write declarations and covenants. I put this together all the time, and I don't think you have a clear interpretation here. So, but that's not going to happen for a few months. So we think that we have a great house. We like the varied roof forms. We think 312 is a good pitch. If we have to go up to 412, we will to get it approved. That's gonna make it then just a little bit taller than the cabin.
So
Right now, we're trying to
then
limit
it
it.
goes into the final paragraph in our roof regulations. We go over to Dan's computer, who's got pulled up. Scroll down. So it says in the discretionary stuff, roof's integration into the immediate surrounding environment in a manner that reduces the appearance of the building or structure, integration of architectural elements such as dormers, cutouts, roof variations to lessen the appearance of the roof and the mass of the building or structure, and at the last, the degree to which the proposed roof form will allow the building or structure to significantly reduce the need to build to the maximum allowed building height of the lot. So what he's saying by staying at a 312, go to a 412, it's just going to get taller. So right in that last paragraph, it says like, hey, well, we can allow this lower slope roof or a variation in this code because it's going to allow the building to be shorter. And then he was talking square footages. It's very close between the new 312 shed roofs, the existing gable. Then if you add in the connector with the 412 and the 1112 dormer, and I guess that is like a 412 to 1112 kind of gable connector. You add that in, that is acceptable. The shed roofs would be under 50% of the total roof square footage. So for nitpicking percentages of what's primary or what's predominant or primary, like I said, that's up to interpretation of the words,
Well, and I do think that his comment about predominant is worth discussing in the sense that, again, but when I look up the word predominant, I get this 50% thing, but predominant, I guess, from an aesthetic point of view, could be the tallest or the most visible roof, or the most
what do you see from the road?
right, or just what the architectural design focuses on. I mean, is that a fair interpretation of the word predominant?
I remember when they rewrote that. And I think it was a lot of copy paste from the original land use code or the original building and architectural review guidelines. That was it. But I don't disagree that if there's discretionary, but I don't think it talks about slopes, it talks about forms. So to me, I could buy that it may not be predominant if we add all of that, and I'm not even going to measure it, just looking at it, they're about equal.
Yeah.
So is it predominant? No, it's a portion. I don't dislike these. I just think that this is a miss. Gordon, I voted against it a couple of months ago. Gordon wanted it brought up to the trustees. This is something that has to be addressed, right? But I don't think we want to just blindly say, oh yeah, let's do big flat roofs or big low slope as one pitch. Because I don't think we want to see what that looks like. I've seen it on my front range. It looks like, pardon my French, shit.
No, I think multiple pitches, no
Totally.
matter what, and
Totally.
312 minimum.
This is attractive. This works. So how do we attack it? Aside from this one thing, obviously we got a privacy fence which is probably not allowed. Question, are they connecting the sewer? It looks like we're going from a one bed to many beds, or at least 3 beds, I thought. So obviously are we connecting the sewer or replacing septic?
We're keeping the 3-bedroom septic. We are moving and replacing the tank because it's an old fiberglass tank.
I saw relocate in one.
Yeah, but the field itself, we already got the environmental health to sign off on it.
Okay,
We had an inspection and then environmental health signed off. So.
nice.
There's no sewer system in this area.
Not yet.
The shed is nearly as big as the cabin. What is the shed's? Is it just remaining?
Just from
It's in that setback.
Yeah, the existing cabin is in the setback, none of the new construction is.
Yeah, I saw that.
We could really only build in one direction. Or hide the cabin, build the front of the cabin.
Does the cabin have, or is the shed a habitable space? I saw electric for car charging.
It is not, the electric is, so we can park the car in front and charge it,
But park in front, not in?
not in, it's not big enough.
Well, it's prohibited. The siding, we allows this type of siding, cementous. How do you say it?
Cementitious as long as it's.
Cementitious, thank you. You know, I think this one goes on its own merits because I don't think it's predominant.
Yeah.
I would. Any further, I mean, anybody?
You know, and just going back to the final sentence, it's not just about other roof forms, but it says the degree to which the proposed roof form will allow the building or structure to significantly reduce the need to build to the maximum allowable height. I think that does give a little wiggle room on 312 and 412, even though it's going to miss that. Like, we could interpret that as like it allows single layer ice water with warranty on the product. By doing the 312 versus he could easily just change it to a 412. He's well under the height already, but it could have been taller. I think that
Just doesn't need to be.
You know, in this particular project, I think, we can use that wording to allow the 312 without, especially with in addition existing structure versus, the other project being new construction at all 312. We definitely need to get some clarity on that.
I would make a motion to approve 0078 Red Mountain.
One second.
On the contingent upon removal of this privacy fence.
Yes.
To berm or landscape, something. acceptable.
Yeah, can they do a big old berm? What's it?
Unless we're on,
Huh?
unless we're on their property, we could ask them.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great. Good luck with you.
Thanks for your professional time.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on to 6565 Highway 90 garage.
Okay, so this one is just a detached garage, about as simple as you can get of a garage. The big issue I had here was that the indicated wood lap siding to be painted brown. Our code specifically does not allow wood siding to be painted, it must be stained.
They just gotta call it solid stain.
Yeah.
That's the key word
Yeah.
right there.
And honestly, I'll bet they're probably gonna install cementitious anyway, so it might just be exercising
That's
futility.
the key word to have in there.
Kyle, in the future, if you could at least maybe fill in, I didn't see it, but lot number and subdivision. Just if they didn't put it on there and make that, we can find it, okay, great. It makes it easier for us.
Yeah, we never touched that, that's straight from them.
We should have that maybe in your report. If at all possible.
Yeah, I could add that to my little second.
It would be super helpful. I mean, we can find it, but 109 pages plus a separate email for floor plans of a separate project, everything helps. Anything you can get.
Fair enough. So this one is in the corner of the property, it is tight against the setbacks. They did pull it away from the setback to allow the overhangs to be at setback line, but it is nestled tight to the corner of the property.
So is this like a prefab tough shed?
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. It's not necessarily prefab, they do construct it on site, but it is by tough shed.
So our code's kind of weird, and I know we're calling it a garage, and it appears to be a garage. But
They make garages.
doesn't sell, I looked them up and I didn't see, they have
They do.
garage sheds.
They do.
Look, they do.
No, they do.
Okay,
No.
Yeah.
yeah, cause we don't allow parking inside of the shed.
Mhm. No, they do garages.
Okay,
They do a number of things.
And since our previous discussions, I've kind of said anything over 200 square feet isn't a shed. Shed is 200 square feet or less.
Oh, thank you.
Over is a utility building or a garage. So anything over 200 square feet would come to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
One thing I just noted on some of the details, underlayment was noted as GAF felt buster. That does not sound like an ice and water. I mean, this is a garage and not a shed.
What did you do on yours, Tim?
What's that?
For the underlimit, the ice and water, did they do it?
Ice and water.
Because you did, so it needs to be noted that they have to have it, because we're required up here, and
Yeah.
you can't use felt.
Yeah, I believe our code says for heated structures though. So if it's not heated, it does not require ice water.
Oh,
God, if I was them, I'd pay the extra just in case I ever heated it.
is there
Might be a suggestion to,
is there any?
because if someone ever did want to come in and insulate that thing, and
Are they going to run electrical in this?
Say I get
They're going to have
thought
electrical.
That's the one I worked on.
There's a good chance that
It had a
they would
electric
put
heater
heater
in it.
in. Something.
The garage is not heated. But I think they were gonna run an outlet.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, it was just gonna be for light. That's it.
Because you can easily put in like an electric heater. So
right?
Yeah,
Or sell it,
it's
and I mean, I'd be more worried for resale, down the road with someone else saying, then you gotta tear your roof off to get it to come, but they would never, I mean, it would never come up again, but just for everybody's sake.
Yeah, I'll probably add a red line on that for the building plan review.
Yeah, that'd be good, yeah.
nothing's insulated. So even if they have a heater in there, they're not insulating anything. It's not staging. So.
Well, the problem is future use, like
Yeah.
an outlet equals a heater.
Yeah. Well,
Installation can happen anytime.
Exactly.
I would like to say, since this is a garage, the garage is required to be subordinate to the main structure. I believe it is, it's kind of unclear. There's not clear definition, but I believe I found the height of the house, which was a good 10 feet taller. That is just some code requirements, and then, of course, the overall appearance of it is in your wheelhouse here.
10 feet taller than the proposed garage.
Yes, the house
Yeah,
is
the garage is only is under 15.
because I did find some topographical areas, yeah, the overall height. Can't quite read it on this, but the ridge height of the house is about 10 feet higher than the ridge height of the garage.
The location on the lot, it will be, despite being shorter and smaller square footage, it won't be super noticeable from the highway with someone's,
Right.
Temporarily corner.
It's would certainly fall under being subordinate to the house.
Motion.
Do you want to have them note anything about paint versus solid stain?
Yes. Yes.
And Kyle said he'd, recommend or redline the underlayment?
I'll read exactly what the code says, but I'll recommend they do.
That minimum recommend.
Yeah,
It's a big red flag anytime we see non-ice water out
Right,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, you want to
I'll make a motion to approve, what are those ones?
65, Highway 9.
65, Highway 9. As presented, except for the red lines, that recommendation and that was it, right?
Stain.
Staining
Stain.
instead of painting.
That they're going with the solid stain versus the paint.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the final project on here is one of those that typically would have been removed from your agenda, because it has too many issues to be resolved by you. There's a miscommunication with the setback, how it's measured, but it's on your agenda here because it has the roof issue. So I would like to provide some feedback to the applicant. I believe he is online. I talked to him about an hour ago or an hour before the meeting. It is all 212 pitches. It is I don't know how you define it. It's a combination of shed roofs. You guys were talking about as long as it has multiple roofs, and you're okay with it. So it's on here just for, can I provide some sort of recommendation back to the owner on when he represents this, of what you guys are looking for?
Trying to see if I'm seeing it correctly. Is that just a flat roof over that tree? Or is that a butterfly? Yeah, so it's a butterfly like right over the entry, which is expressly prohibited because of it's just going to be a ice and snow catcher.
Yeah, it's. Is that metal siding there that goes up basically half the lower level? Or is that vertical? It's hard to read this plan set.
You know, the skin is very
It's just not crisp, you know, it's
Yeah,
like scan.
it's not slope line.
It's on here.
Is it?
That's fun.
Oh, all they do is indicate horizontal siding, and we are unclear of the material.
Well, there's vertical illustrated. There's a picture of those materials. It looks like some is metal, some is wood.
Yeah, so.
We would want to see the existing road. I think there's nothing on the site plan that shows us where the existing road is, so we can't even determine setback.
Yeah, the
There's some-
cross hatch is
With
the
the
road,
wetlands.
and then they show the access easement.
What's
The cross hatch is the road, and then the access.
On this
easement.
side.
What's the sheet?
Second one, A1.
Yeah, it should in this way.
There's some proposed materials.
That's all.
So
So it's on
the only thing that's vertical, and then there's this rock.
Yeah, but that's the lattice. You see how perfect there's tangled it is? Where's the road? This is the river easement right here.
Yeah.
Oh, allegedly.
Yeah.
This is the wetland, which typically doesn't get taken
That
down.
was what I'd give.
I think the road is small. I've seen these property markers. We would definitely need to see where that existing road sits.
So you believe the indications here may not be correct?
No, that's the platted road. That's not the existing road. Unless we have one of the only ever roads within the town of Blue River to separate its platted easement.
Fair enough. Yeah, we
Is this the
haven't
first one?
even got there with this one.
Yeah.
No, really, just we want some recommendations for the roof. Would this be a
Yeah,
deny on 2 to 12? No go.
That butterfly over the entry is, that's not a practical roof design. And then there's another reverse slope into the.
Yeah, it's not mixed up at all, it's all.
Well, there's another reverse slope going right back into the siding.
Right.
Over the deck, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. There's definite concerns with that wetland delineation. I know this is pretty wet right there.
So, I mean, the plans are so hard to read roof pitch and everything. It's hard to really see what's going on with roof plans. These scans are so poor quality.
I would say, I mean, I think it feels like they want a work session without calling a work session to get our feeling. But as it sits, obviously there's a lot of questions, but as it sits, it would need a variance based on setbacks and location. I don't even think this would be in front of us. It would be sitting in the variance hearing first.
When you wouldn't be able to discuss that with me anyway, because that'd be subject to a public hearing.
Right.
So I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any variance discussion here. I just wanted to bring it for you because I had the same exact roof issue that we've been discussing. I wanted to know, let you guys know this is coming forward.
This is all 212.
They are working on a redesign. So I should inform them that a 2 to 12 is not permitted.
No.
Can't imagine.
Not as
They would want to make that.
not all primary, all roof pitches are primary.
And if it was all 312, what would your discussion be?
Well, then we're into like 312s aren't mentioned.
We're going almost right back to our first, vote with pushing it to the trustees.
Need to make a decision. So 412 is good, 312, we're in some weird gray area, and 212 is a no-go.
Is that what,
Not as a primary roof pitch. And I would definitely let them know that any of these reverse like pitch butterfly sections are pitching back into the siding is not.
They're just asking for
not
trouble.
trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all we needed from that one.
Okay.
We can move on.
Yeah.
No action item on that one. Okay, so the last thing on the agenda, or do you mind if I keep going?
yes,
Is the code adoption. I brought this up about a month ago that we're back at it. We finally have all the fire codes amendments that red, white, and blue wants. So we are ready to compile and create the actual ordinance to bring to the board hopefully next month. Did you guys have the entire ordinance with you? Were you able to see the entire thing?
They look like it went on.
29 minutes. It's like a 30
Page
page.
75 to 109.
Yes, that sounds right. So I did include a staff report in here, which I'll go through a little bit here. So the reason we're moving from the 18 to the 24, I guess to back up is that 2 years ago, we moved to the 18 from the 15. The reason we moved to the 18 is because we were kind of terrified of the 21. We really did not want to adopt the 21. It was more stringent in many ways, especially energy code. It would require R60 insulation in every roof, which is impractical for a lot of construction. So we moved to the 18, so we were afraid we were going to get pushed into the 21, so we moved to the 18 then. The 24 came out and it actually fixed almost all those issues. So the energy code is actually back on an even keel of the 18. So the 18, the 21 got more stringent, the 24 came back down. So we're back to an even keel. There's some documents in here about comparing the actual costs, and it's a 1 to 3% increase from the 18 to the 24, which is pretty negligible because it's energy code, it kind of pays itself back off. One of the biggest changes is automatic motion lights in all living areas of the house. That's kind of the big significant thing that most contractors are going to have a heartache with moving to the 24. You really need to focus more on where you place the light switches, a little more expensive of the actual device. But the rest of it, all the main energy values are all identical. I think the only change to the actual insulation is that instead of 36 inches for the foundational insulation, it's now 48 inches, which almost everyone's doing 48 inches anyway. These are to the footer because we have 44-inch frost out here. So anyway, the actual costs are very negligible between them. So that's why we're going to move to the 24 codes now. Again, kind of the same logic as before. We don't want to wait and be forced into a 27 code or anything. We're trying to hold a 24 as long as we possibly can. So we want to do the adoption this year because there's a state law that states everybody must adopt a wild and urban interface code. Everyone in all jurisdictions in the state of Colorado, and it must be effective by April 1. So we are capable of just adopting the Wireland code, but we really just want to do the whole package together because it's a very minimal change for the community, doing all this stuff together. and it aligns with what the fire department wants. They're moving to the 24 codes, they're pushing Breckenridge to do it, and they're pushing the county to do it. Over the Hill is all moving to 24 as well. I already moved Fairplay and Alma there, it went effective January 1. So it really keeps us in an even keel with everyone else. So we want to, there's also some legislative issues with the energy code. If we wait until July 1st of this year, 2026, we're also required to adopt the model low energy code, which essentially limits fossil fuels. So we really want to avoid that, especially up in our climates. We don't want any sort of limitations on reducing our energy footprint. That would make these things significantly more expensive to build once you move into that. So we want to do an adoption before July 1st to avoid having to go even further with energy code. We need to do at least the wildland code by April 1, which we're going to have to adopt anyway. And then as a company, a CAA, we are applying for a BCEGS, which is an ISO rating. So the area already has an ISO rating with the fire department, but we do not have an ISO rating for the building codes. And if we apply for or as a company, we're applying for the BCEGS rating as a whole for all of our jurisdictions all in one go. So all of our jurisdictions for CAA have this rating. But for you to be included in that, you have to be on the 24 code, because any jurisdiction in our bubble that we push is on a code that's more than 6 years old. Our entire bubble is now downgraded by 1 point. So if you don't move to the 24, we will not be able to include you in our application. It's a very difficult application. It's about 1,000 pages, every certification. You have to run all data. It's an insane amount of work. So we don't want to apply separately as Blue River. If you did, you would be downgraded to a 4, which is, you're getting to the point where you're not that great of a number anyway. We're going for a 2 if we apply as a group. That way I can include all my engineers that don't directly work in the town. Sorry, that was a lot of information pretty quickly. So to stop there, does anybody have any questions on why we're wanting to do this adoption and before I get into the costs?
Yeah, so I don't see any costs in here in the ordinance.
It's not in the ordinance. I created a staff report.
I don't think I saw any staff report.
No, I didn't submit it because it was addressed to the board of trustees.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I wrote it for my presentation next month. But I will read through that here.
Well, before you go there, so I keep hearing you say we have to do this, right? So why do we have to do this?
Well, the only thing we have to do is adopt the wildland code by April 1st.
And why do we have to? Because it's a law or statutory text.
And what does that encompass?
Just exterior hardening. So basically, wood siding and all the windows need to be tempered.
All of it.
All of it. Then Class A roof, which we already require.
All windows have to be tempered?
Yes. Or 20-minute fire rated, which temper is the cheaper way.
I mean, what happens if you say, no, we're not doing that?
Then the Attorney General will sue us and force us to.
What happens if you're,
Too big is room for government.
well, what if you, we're not a statutory town, what if you were home rule?
As far as I know, it was a statewide regulation. Anybody that issues a building permit must adopt it.
Steve, do you have any input on that?
No, I don't. I don't, because I'm not that aware of it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's fair. So what are these points downgraded to a 4 versus a 2? What does that do?
So it's an insurance rating. So that determines, so insurance companies, when they look at a location, they're looking at the town's ratings and the fire department's ratings to help evaluate if they want to insure it and what the insured rate will be.
And that applies only to the wildland fire code?
No, we would be applying for, as a town, we would receive that rating. So everyone in the town would now have ideally cheaper rates, or at least the better ability to get homeowners insurance, or hopefully get canceled.
And this is an ECGA rating, is that?
BCEGS, Building Code Evaluation Rating Scale.
Thank you.
And what does it take to get to a 1?
A 1 would be basically you do 1 inspection a day, inspect it, it's like 4 to 6 hours to inspection. You need full engineers for each level of review. So electrical engineer has to review, the electrical plans, plumbing engineer. It's an absolutely insanity, but we do want to get it to.
So last month you said that this was so we could apply for grants. That's what I heard.
So there's also in DOLA, any housing grant, you are precluded from the grant if your building code is more than 6 years old. So if you apply for a grant for DOLA, you will be instantly denied if you do not update your codes. Is how I've been told.
And currently what we're doing now is make a recommendation to the trustees that,
I don't even know if I need recommendations,
So,
or just,
so you're throwing it out to
I
us.
just want you to be
Be
aware.
aware.
Yes, you want to present.
I got some more questions before, I mean, this is just discussion, but, what I saw as new was property maintenance code, swimming pool and spa code, wildland urban interface code, Colorado wildfire resiliency code, model electric ready, solar ready code. Is that correct?
So the property maintenance and the swimming pool code should have already been adopted, so those are not new, they just might not have been.
They're not listed in our code as adopted, at least I didn't see them. So when you look at our website, Jackie, what's it?
So those ones actually get weird, they're actually by reference in the IRC. So even if you don't physically adopt them, they're still by reference. So it's actually not changing anything. They are already enforceable codes within our town.
So I went through, moving on, so I went through this snow load. And I know we talked about, it's no different, we're currently at 100 roof. This puts ground at 140 to 100 roof. I really couldn't run through an example calculation to determine. You know, I noticed there were some changes on like frost depth and some other factors that impact the overall weight. But how does this impact our roofing? I mean, are 312 pitches more subject? Is there any sort of calculation that goes into?
No, so the only reason I'm adding the 140 is because we've had several people design the roof to 100 ground. And then they're very upset when I tell them it's 100 roof. So I'm just adding that additional layer of clarification for the people that come from California and don't understand roof loads. But so the calculation is you take the ground snow load and multiply by 0.7, and that becomes your new roof load. Which by doing the math, it comes out to like 99.6 or something. So they are ideally equal.
So I just noticed a couple of, as I compared, I'm not an expert at any of this, but you mentioned our frost depth, I think you said it was 44. There was discussion about insulation down to 48. The frost line depth changed from 40 to 42 based on this document.
I didn't intend to change the snow frost depth at all.
I didn't know if it.
I have several conversations around it. I believe it's 42 here. It's been 42 for.
Well, it's listed as 40 in our existing code, and it does change to 42.
I didn't intend to change it,
Okay.
so I can leave it at 40 then.
Well, I mean, we just want it to be accurate for the region. This is showing us as a special wind region. Is that factually accurate?
Yes, it is.
And now sprinklers are required at 4,500 square
That's
feet.
by the fire department. They wanted that change.
Does that have anything to do with, I mean, I noticed Breckenridge recently did that, and there was some uproar about it. What code specifically, or is this just an input by the fire department? Is it part of wildland urban interface code?
So the residential code unamended says all single family dwellings must be sprinkled. So in our current adoption, it says exception homes under 6,000 don't have to be. So the fire department is now recommending that threshold be reduced to 4,500. But currently, since we're at 6,000, we have the secondary requirement that if your house is between 4,000 and 6,000, you have to do 5/8 drywall throughout the entire house. By removing that down to 4,500, they don't want that anymore. So now it's just a 4,500 square foot rule on that. So it cleans things up a little bit.
So 4,500 or above needs sprinkler.
Yes.
And it used to be the 5/8 drywall, didn't it?
Yeah.
And over 6,000 was sprinkled.
Oh, it's,
I heard there was a bunch of uproar.
I'm sure.
I think a lot of it was just the timing and trying to the timing of, I think, my reading of that, there was kind of an inevitable change, just as far as how quickly it gets implemented.
So let's back up for a second. You said residential units would be required to have automatic lighting control or shut off, like occupancy sensors.
It just says lights must be turned off automatically within 20 minutes of an occupant. So it's not full occupant on off. It is just a motion off. But yes.
Yeah, and this is energy code. To me, you know, I don't think we need to adopt any of that. Like, what benefit residentially? At one point, it was prescriptive. Over time, it's become more mandated. And I just don't see the benefit. If we're talking about, in my opinion, and I will certainly bring it to the Board of Trustees. In my opinion, if we're talking about grant money for residential grants, I don't know that the town's ever gonna be asking. Maybe they will. I could be wrong. But I just don't see the need to sit there and just say, oh yeah, let's nod our heads and say yes. Let's make residential houses more like commercial. Once upon a time, it was commercial units over 50,000, and it started dropping down. I just think this is crazy. I think that, you know, because it can apply to not only new construction, but also like retrofits. So you start to pull a permit. What is the threshold that forces that? One other thing I noticed, 313.1, talking about fuel equipment stored in sheds. No motorcycles. I recall the board specifically not long ago allowing motorcycles to be stored in the shed. So it was blacked out that you could still store weed whackers and lawn equipment, etc. But I mean, this is where it's all headed. So I can't stomach this. This is insanity to me. 315.3, talking about storage requirements, what you can and can't store. Who's gonna police all of this?
I believe you're referring to the fire code amendments down to.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly pull it up, but
So the fire
in
code,
general, I just think this is madness, and if we're doing it for grant money,
so the entire fire code only applies to commercial structures except for a very small section they've added in there. So all of that is only referring to commercial buildings.
let me get there. Address identification, we already have it, but it seems to be upticking a little bit more stringent. I think I read that 105.6.26 talking about requiring a construction permit. I thought it was for
Yeah, that's
a
all
fire.
code. So everything past page 87 is all fire code.
Is that part of the wildland fire code
No.
or just standard fire
Just
code?
standard fire.
Can we
code.
strike any of this?
This is all recommended from the fire department, but none of that applies to any building in the town. Unless you guys annex this commercial building next door.
Well, I mean, that's a good topic to bring up because there's a lot of occupancy types in here that don't even apply. We don't even have them in the town.
Right.
And they may
because
not,
the
even
fire department-
if we were to annex, it doesn't mean we're gonna have them. So it's just a generic code.
You're saying a lot of the structures here aren't even in,
Yeah, so everything in the fire code is really irrelevant to the building. That's from what the fire department wants on their commercial structure that they regulate over in Breck.
So I'm not seeing it, well, I'm just curious, like, it just, adoption of the 2024 International Fire Code. I'm just, where is it saying that it's specific for commercial property?
That's just not in this document here, it's in the actual text of the.
Right, and that's another piece of it, man. We're getting it all in little bits and pieces. We can't have the full context. To do an accurate review of this, to make sure that it really is applicable. I was at the meeting when this came up to the board, and my frustration is not with you, Kyle, just to be clear. My frustration is with this process that I've watched the state go down this rabbit hole. I saw the trustees just standing there with a glazed look and nod their heads, and no disrespect to them. Most anyone would do it, but without the full code, in order to do a full review and have valid, useful opinions and comments, we need it. One thing I see, and I can't even find it because I can't search the document, 605.2.1.6, talking about annual inspections by a qualified person for wood burning appliances in residential units.
So that actually is in our books already.
That's insane. That's insane. Strike that. There's no one's doing it. We're not enforcing it, and it's insane.
And that's in the fire code, so that's the fire department regulating that, not me.
It's in our code, so it means that we theoretically would need to police it.
Well, the fire code is a weird one, how we must adopt it for the fire district to have teeth to enforce it. But staff on our side have nothing to do with anything fire code related. The
I just
district
feel like
is
we need to
weird.
take a red pen and make some adjustments to this, like any municipality does. Not just generic. Oh, yeah, we just chew down everything we're handed. That's my opinion. Doesn't need to reflect this board's. I just think that these things, they're put out there, there's hundreds of pages, and people just nod their heads. And little by little, it becomes something that you don't want it to be. So, it's very difficult to do a full code review without the code. These are just individual items
These
that are
main
gonna
codes
get
are
plugged in.
available for free online.
I hear you, but no one's reviewing it. Have you reviewed it in detail?
I've read the entire 24 codes. Sad to say.
I just can't in good faith, fire resistance labeling.
Yeah, you're just-
Tons of occupancies, laboratory, assembly, educational, parking garage. 3103.5 talking about tents. We don't even allow, there are no tents. Now, again, maybe it's annexed, maybe it isn't, but it's just rubber stamp, man.
Yeah, but none of that fire code really has anything to do with the town. That's just.
Currently, where are monitored fire alarm, monitored, systems required?
So in these, the condos, whatever they are here, this little addition here, they just converted the old hot tub room into a living unit. The fire department made them put in a monitored system there. So it does exist.
Yeah, it's on page 104, I read it. And it's not clear to me, like, are we going to require them on certain size homes, or is it gonna be all homes?
The only thing that applies to a home, unless it specifically says it, in the fire code, none of it, is it's all regulated by the IRC.
That's not what, this is all over the place, because some does, some doesn't. Chainsaws, gotta have a fire extinguisher readily available. Wildfire resiliency code, what is that? I know it was Senate Bill 23166, but specifically, how does it apply? Resiliency.
So that is just home hardening. So the state created their own wild and urban interface code.
That's wildland urban interface. What is the wildfire resiliency code?
So they took the wild and urban interfacing code and relabeled it. Or they took the wild and urban interface code and relabeled it Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code because they deleted a couple sections out of it.
Well, we're
So it's
adopting
the same
both.
thing.
I saw both.
So I deleted the wildland code or the wild and urban interface code off of this adoption. So I just need to delete it off of the adoption list at the top. Because the fire department wanted to just adopt the wildfire resiliency code. I was adopting them both, just to make things easier. But they're the same code.
That's not an answer. I'm sorry. This is copy paste from municipality to municipality. Does this all apply to Blue River? I don't think it does.
Well, the fire.
And some of it needs to be struck.
Okay, well, then we're gonna have to talk to the fire department because they wrote all that.
They wrote it or they recommended adoption of it.
They wrote everything on this page.
Which page is that?
From 89 to 109 is the total target.
Again, I don't mean to beat up on you. I just watched this in awe throughout municipalities and counties, and it's just, you know, here's the carrot. Let's dangle the carrot. You want dollars, you better, jump. That's all I got. It's not worth anything. We have no authority here.
Personally, I read through this and didn't feel as though I really had any grasp of what the impact of this would be. That first paragraph, it lists, 20 different, 10 different codes that we're adopting, I think.
Which we've already have adopted. So that's the hard part to really understand the changes.
Not all.
Well, and that's the point. And so I think it's a process thing is, understanding the changes. Like what I would want is I want the one document and I want another document that's redlined. It shows me, side by side what the changes are. And I think to your point, like I'm reading this thing, and maybe I should know more, but I was completely, glazed over and really don't know what I'd be approving or not approving here. And furthermore, with mixing in all these other things that don't apply to us, it in the format that it's been presented, I don't understand. Now I'm not a builder, but
So very few of what you read is actually a change. We already have all this adopted. It's just we're going from 18 to 21. And this is reinforcing what we already have adopted in many places. For the actual changes, I'll go through a couple of them. Recommending adopting the appendix on radon systems. What that does is it requires a pre-piping of a future radon system while you're doing the foundation. Improve fire safety and clarity in the IBC. Again, that doesn't really affect us a whole lot, but it makes some of these fire walls cheaper to build. The hazard loads, which we've all talked about, snow loads, how they calculate them are all changed. It uses a new ASCE 722. It yields 719 or 18. So it's just an updated calculations for structural engineers. In residential, they make it a little easier to build fire separation, and it allows you to use imaginary lot lines between some buildings on residential, which you couldn't do before. Kind of like duplexes, you can do an imaginary lot line and make it cheaper. Accessory rooms between two-family dwellings. So if you build a two-family dwelling, you can actually have a shared room between them, like a game room, which you can't do now. Landings, there's a couple, like they changed it from 36 to 40 inches of the landing requirement, so a couple inches bigger. They added a section for sleeping lofts. So like we see these a lot in the town here, where it's like a little mezzanine above the kitchen. That's kind of like a makeshift bedroom. But I am striking that, so we're not adopting those. Then
So we're not adopting that, but we're adopting like a common area between a duplex.
yes,
Why would that be?
just because it's not unsafe.
Where does it apply?
If you want to build a duplex and you want to have a game room between them, now you can. It's not that you have to, it's now you're allowed to.
And these are just updates in the IRC, going from the 2014 to the 2018.
Yes. So then all the wording in that document we read is just us solidifying how we do things to make them all line up with what's actually in the code. Just so the code is not conflicting of how we actually do things. So then the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code. So what that is it's the ICC Wildland Urban Interface Code, the WUI. And what they did was they deleted out some of the exterior tree trimming stuff, and they called it their own Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code. So what it is there's a map which they've designated most of the town as extreme fire hazard, which means everyone in the town now has to have fire resistant exterior and tempered windows. Is really what it comes down to. And there's a couple other
And that we're essentially forced to
yes,
adopt by the state.
yes. That's just how the state wants to go. So the entire town is extreme fire hazard. So we're just going that way. So we don't have to create this crazy map. All these other jurisdictions are doing all these complicated maps trying to delineate all this stuff out because the state map is terrible. But our town is so easily defined, we can just call it all extreme. Makes it nice and easy. So that is non-combustible or ignition-resistant exterior materials, defensible space around the structure, which is what the fire department is going to be regulating, not us, which they already do. And then it says there's improved access for emergency response, but it's just we're adopting it that the fire department's already regulating. It's just kind of combining them all into nice, cleaner documents.
Where was that? Improved access?
That's at the end of the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code.
Wildfire.
And then
For access, you're
just
saying.
for access, yeah.
We've always had that.
Driveway requirement, yeah, we've already had it. It's just, now it's a
drive,
national, yeah.
access, all of that. We've always had that.
The fire department regulates all this already. Yeah. So it says for a typical 1 and 2 family home, the vapor retarder change would reduce cost by $800 per home, because it's allowing a thinner plastic to be used under the home, which we don't get very often. The engineers don't typically require the vapor retarder under slabs. The deck ledger flashing increases by $20. The guard railing support enhancements, guards overlook lower levels. It adds $130 to a house. The energy efficiency goes up $500 to $1,000 per house. And then the wildfire resiliency code, alright, it's not very clear what it's saying here. Yeah, so at the end of the day, the NAHB, which is the National Association of Home Builders, did the study on all the costs. And they said moving from the 18 to the 24 is negligible, if not cheaper to build in many cases. So the cost, every year you increase the code, the cost goes up. This is the one chance where we can jump 6 years ahead and not increase the cost of construction. Actually.
With the exception of motion sensing light switches.
Yes, which the NHAB says it saves money over time, so it ends up being negligible. The extra $500.
I would have brought the energy code if it was up to me. You know, ASHRAE 90.1 deals with most of what's in there, or did, and it just little by this is just the culmination of lobbyist sweat dream over time. Yeah, that's my opinion. It's just ridiculous. And over years, everybody sat, got free lunches and listened and nodded heads, and I don't know. I'm a cynic, but it shouldn't be this complicated. It's ridiculous.
Very complicated. I can't figure it out.
It's ridiculous.
I can't. We're scratching our head about how the building departments are gonna interpret it too.
I say just chop it out, man. Chop it. You gotta start somewhere. Someone has to say, whoa, this is ridiculous. Bring the state. Let's talk about it. Why? It has become an animal. I'm a licensed professional engineer. My background is just power though. Power and lighting. So I know IECC from that standpoint. I remember LEED and all the little games, but the reality is all of this is just everything efficient-wise was dealt with years ago through ASHRAE 90.1. The bulk of it. And we've gone nowhere. I've watched municipalities, Town of Breck, I'll call them out. They had requirements, IECC, when they became mandated, not just prescriptive. And I could sit there and tell you, you got to do this. Builders, I'm not doing that. And then the town doesn't even enforce because no one even knows what it means. But yet we all sit here and just nod our heads. And I'm just not gonna. That's the end of my pulpit bullshit. But this is ridiculous. And it's lobbyists' wet dreams that have made this come to fruition. Someone's getting paid, man. It isn't us. So I can end it right there. In good faith, I would not recommend this to the Board of Trustees.
Anything in regards to the fire aspect, I guess I would be for it. You know, I mean, you see how many communities
And we have no choice there.
burn up, yeah, you know, and I think if they're valid ideas, I'm for those.
I'm not gonna chop them all, but I really can't digest the fire code in context with it
Right.
at all. Because to me, I just see sentences and it's not, I don't see it. Section P301, I have it all. There's a code section, I can read it.
Then I
When
think
it's just blurbs, regardless.
the other big thing, I think we're hogtied on it, I think it would affect all of us unless we can be self-insured is that level 2 that Kyle was talking about. I mean, if you can't get insurance, what do we say?
Which, then again, and I don't disagree with much of what Dan's saying, but the town's hands are tied about the wildland
Yeah.
code because that's a state mandated change. The fire department's like, hey, we service your town. Here's the new code.
Take it,
What
or,
like take it or leave it? Like what are like if you say no, they're like, oh, we're not gonna come and fight your fire in your town.
Yeah.
You can't really do anything about that. And it's not something we are enforcing. It's just like, hey, this is what essentially acknowledging what they're going to enforce, what they're looking at.
That's really how it works with the fire department. They
Yeah.
are enforcing this
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
And then with the building code, I appreciate the efforts to like skip over the 21 code.
yeah,
But there's really like it would be great if we don't need to adhere to the 2018 IRC and stay with the 2014 or even go backwards, but then
I'd love to see a town just write their codes though.
but then
Adopt the bits and pieces that you appreciate.
but then when you go to XYZ insurance company, they're not going to look into what the town of Blue River has written for our codes.
right,
And who are we gonna pay to go through and like write these codes? They're gonna like, oh, well, either you sign up for this or we're gonna downgrade your rating,
yeah, or not even insured.
They're not looking at that. They're looking at fire.
No, but they're looking at like what data points can they reference? All right, this town follows this,
These guidelines.
this guideline. So if their homes are built by these guidelines, we're gonna like give them a point for that, or
Right.
however they rate this. Nobody's actually reading through this stuff. They're just like it's like you're checking boxes. So I mean, I totally get what you're saying, Dan, but I'm like, I don't really know what choice the town realistically has.
The town couldn't afford to do it the way it's written, like you said, checking the fire burning fireplaces and are there motorcycles stored in sheds?
But that's not up to the town. That's the fire department.
Right, and it's not that.
Again, it's just people just adopting codes.
Yeah, I
Ridiculous.
totally get it.
It's
In
ridiculous.
agreement. It's
And on down the road.
and we wonder why building's expensive. Well, should we wrap it up?
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Oh,
just a second.
Steve. Yes.
We need to go back to presenting the discussion about the roofs to the board.
Yes.
And how you all intend to do that. I think timing is important. Not because the board has a lack of things to do. But I would suggest, and we all contemplate this because it's something you all have to agree upon as a commission, that when I'm doing the agenda next week for the January 20th meeting, we haven't had work sessions and I don't anticipate one. But I would suggest that this would be a reasonable discussion for
Don't show me.
a member or a representative of the planning commission to come to the board during that work session, present what you're seeing with regard to your interpretation of the code, and see where it goes from there. Just plan on spending 15-20 minutes with the board prior to their regular meeting, which they've got a pretty healthy agenda anyway. But, that's what I would suggest. And I think that's well within the boundaries of, I don't think y'all need to show up. I think you just need to find somebody that can generate that message in an effective way to the board so that they can decide, hey, is this something we want to look at, et cetera, et cetera. But they need to get it in front of them. And I think that's my proposal is that would be the best way to do it.
I nominate Chris.
I certainly can attend. Yeah, we trade some emails back and forth and draft, how we wanna present it, so that we're all on the same page. I'm more than willing to.
I mean, the attorney is ultimately gonna draft it. It just needs to be the gist of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think he would want to know, number one, I think he wants to know the frustration. And I think you have the architect here and he's reading through it, just like I read it, I read it this way and I read it that way. I think that he would like to know where that frustrations is so that maybe he has some idea. He may also know because he's probably the one that wrote the first one, what the intent was. But I think the matter is we gotta get it in front of them. And then the board can say yes or no, this is something we want to
If you want to put it on the agenda, then I'll most definitely.
Okay. I will, for that work session, it'll be right on the front.
Maybe I'll go through and just highlight and make some notes and shoot it off to all of y'all to, like, hey, is this where we wanna?
Yeah, I think the
I mean,
gist.
it's pretty simple, but just make sure that everybody's.
Yeah, I think the gist is you have two projects, and I don't know if you dare to use actual examples from tonight, but we have really 2.5. But if you used actual examples, here's one, here's another. These come up, this appears acceptable. However, our code hamstrings us, in our opinion. If the attorney says, no, it doesn't, you can interpret it.
Absolutely, you got your direction. Do you need me to send you that highlighted just PDF of the code?
I'll have that in my email.
You already have it,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll have that in my email. I'll print that out and then just
If you need anything else.
type up some notes.
And so I'm gonna put packets together by next Wednesday. So if you want me to like include that section of the code with that portion of the work session to ease that discussion.
Yeah.
Or whatever else you may have, just let me know.
We'll do. Okay. I'll go type something up and send it to you by Wednesday and then, I'll go back too, because I know there was what we approved that, I think Tim Gerken was here, architect, and we're all like, yeah, it's a great looking house. Why wouldn't we approve this? It's like, looks like, but I think that was a 212.
It was October.
Maybe that was October meeting.
Yeah.
It might have had a section of 1.5 12 or something.
But it was an element of it.
It was an element,
Right,
it was not
that's-
primary.
Right.
But just there's an example that like, this is what we're seeing, like, over and over again with these new bills, like,
The majority.
I mean, the lack of clarity on a 312 is, or anything between a 212 and a 412 is very obvious, it's just like, it's not addressed.
I would, in my opinion, maybe it's not everybody's, I think we don't wanna say that one big shed is acceptable.
No, I
That is
think
not.
We need multiple pitches.
we just need to take some, reword that prohibited paragraph, but leave a prohibited paragraph.
Yeah.
And there was, what was the other?
I say just take a stab, I think you can do it. I got faith in you. The attorney's gonna reword no matter what you do.
Well, and I wouldn't doubt, like, I'm sure, it was like a copy and paste from
Someone stole from somebody else. We never write anything original.
Well, we had 2 architects that used to be on our board, and they wrote a lot of this stuff, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know, like.
Not wrote it, but copied and pasted.
It it dates back, though.
Yeah,
A lot of that came straight out of architectural design guidelines,
Yeah,
you know, and it was just like,
yeah.
it was all out here and they just brought it into one place.
yeah.
And that's what that land use code
And
was.
so much of that stuff, like there's, you know, like not delving into the details of that, but. Yeah, I think the main thing prohibited the use of flat, shed, butterfly, or mansard roof forms was the predominant. Like, we maybe just need to revisit shed. That's what we're seeing, shed roofs. We could leave flat, butterfly, mansard roof forms as a prohibited, or, you know, as the predominant or primary roof for a building.
And then what, just change 412 to 312? Where it's
Yep,
just
412 just needs to change to 312. Because then instead of shed roof forms with roof pitches, you know, and then I don't know why it's under the prohibited paragraph, but the use of a roof with a pitch of 212 or lesser shall be limited. So but it's in the prohibited paragraph. But why is it saying it's like shall be limited? So it's not prohibited, but it's in that paragraph. Like that could get moved down to the third paragraph that says subject to discretionary review. So there you go.
One shot to get it right, and if it screws up, don't blame the attorney.
So it just, I'll highlight some stuff.
And whatever you have, if you give it to me by noon on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Making a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim, you want me to email you a copy of that section of that code?